Tetris is a biographical comedy thriller film based on the YouTube video The Story of Tetris, Gaming Historian by Norman Caruso. Directed by John S. Baird and starring Taron Egerton in the lead role, it shows us the quirky, crazy risks taken to distribute one of the most popular video games of all time. In 1988, Henk Rogers works in marketing for the video game publishing company Bulletproof Software. While attending the Consumer Electronics Show in Las Vegas, Henk becomes fascinated by a Soviet-produced puzzle game known as Tetris, which involves lining up falling blocks to make them disappear. Believing in the potential marketability of Tetris worldwide, Henk tries to acquire the game's distribution rights, but soon learns that British video game distributor Mirrorsoft also has Tetris in their sights, with them already striking up an arcade deal with Sega. In an effort to outdo them, Henk decides to meet with Sega's biggest competitor Nintendo to arrange his own partnership. Henk is shown Nintendo's soon-to-be-released handheld console, the Game Boy, and after some persuasion, convinces the higher-ups to package the Game Boy with Tetris on release day. To acquire the necessary licensing rights, Henk travels to Moscow to meet with Tetris's creator Alexei Pojitnov, where he quickly learns how dangerous it can be doing business in a communist country. If you've ever played a modern puzzle video game, especially one that requires the player to make certain objects disappear, then there's a high chance it has taken some influence from Tetris, which until 2020, when it was surpassed by Minecraft, was the best-selling video game in history. Its simple premise, coupled with its addictive gameplay, has helped Tetris endure on for over 30 years, remaining an important staple of gaming culture. On a personal front, I'll always have a soft spot for this falling block game, as it just so happens to be the very first video game I ever played, having received it along with a classic Game Boy on my 5th birthday. But what many may not be aware of is the complex history behind bringing this game to worldwide attention. And in this film, simply titled Tetris, we get to see a fun, thrilling, yet obviously sensationalistic look at how all of this was accomplished. Structuring itself like a Cold War thriller, the film immerses its audience the world of the 80s, a time where a businessman making deals with communist nations could very well mean the difference between life and death. In any other case, such deals may be something along the lines of a capitalist company wishing to opening up store in Moscow, or even the freeing of a political prisoner to prevent a global crisis. What I'm sure most people would never expect to see is a deal involving a video game, an object of entertainment programmed by a single computer engineer working for the Soviet government. This is where the film deviates from your typical Cold War-related feature, in that while it takes the idea of a video game being its subject matter very seriously, it plays up the amount of obstacles in the main character's way for humorous effect. We watch Henk narrowly dodge being arrested by the KGB for owning an illegal copy of Tetris, which could end up with him being thrown in a gulag for a very long time. Additionally, we also see him struggling to communicate simple commands due to the presence of outdated technology like faxes and phones that cannot dial internationally. Yet all of this feels believable given the time frame in which this story is set, which makes the film not only more compelling to watch, but it also makes you appreciate what Henk went through to get this game released to the entire world. Under John S. Baird's direction, the film has an appropriately retro video game look to it. For instance, the film appears to be divided up into 4 levels, which I assume is done to reflect the 4 blocks that are used in each Tetris piece. As the story progresses, we witness Henk level up as he drifts ever closer to sealing the deal to distribute Tetris to countries outside the Soviet Union. Also, we often get to see scenes transitioning from one to the next via 8-bit pixels layered over the live-action establishing shots. These quirky creative decisions allow the audience to almost feel as though they are inside a video game, and that they are watching events play out like challenges the player character must overcome in order to advance forward. Though some of these segments are clearly added for dramatic effect, like a fast-paced car chase for example, they certainly aren't any less entertaining. Another thing that Baird uses effectively is the clever weaving of the Tetris theme tune, the Russian folk song Korobaniki, into Lorne Balfe's musical score. Every now and then the tone of a scene is set by a remix of the familiar jingle, either with a subtle piano cue or a loud orchestral piece. It's a novel way to enhance a moment that may have otherwise been slow and boring, which is something I came to really enjoy about this film. No doubt many fans of Tetris will have the song stuck in their heads long after the film is finished, because I sure did. As the lead character, Taron Egerton effectively carries the film throughout all of its ups and downs. Egerton's performance reminded me of somebody a young Leonardo DiCaprio would play, a quick-thinking man whose confidence can help him smooth talk his way out of a difficult situation. It's easy to see Egerton as having great fun playing Henk, not just as a businessman, but as someone who loves video games in general. You can't help but admire the way Henk seems so passionate about Tetris as a game, and the positive effect it can have on people everywhere. In addition to this, you also have to respect how much he wants this game to succeed for those who helped create it, which is explored during his bonding scenes with Alexei Pojitnov. Though there is an initial culture clash between the two men, Hank and Alexei soon realize this game's true potential, and work together to get it out there for the masses. These guys are the true heroes of this story, because if it weren't for them, the video game world would be a considerably less exciting place. For a game focused entirely around lining up falling blocks, Tetris has certainly had an interesting history behind its inception. The very fact that this film even exists to tell such a story is truly a testament to its long-lasting impact on pop culture. Even if you aren't an avid gamer, you can still acknowledge this film for how it is able to combine elements of a Cold War thriller with that of the development of an iconic contribution to gaming as a whole. I can't help but wonder if there are more exciting stories worth telling about the creation of other popular video games, as I'd love to see them as well. If they all turn out as enjoyable as this one, then you can count me in.